Hi, welcome back to the Grandpa Deckard Show. I have a special presentation for you today in a series that I am calling the Omelet Chronicles. And this is the fifth and final presentation of that series. So, Grandpa and grandson have been in Alaska, and now they are deciding it's time to return to their home. So the story goes like this. Grandpa Big John and grandson Little Joe decide that it was time to return to their home in Saylorsville, Rhode Island. But not so fast, says Little Joe. Let's go home the long way through New Mexico. Grandpa agreed, saying that he had hoped to see El Morro National Monument someday. It was Joe's turn to drive, and he expertly shifted into first gear and engaged the clutch, and then the other three gears, heading south for 6 days. They took their time, stopping often and taking pictures of all the wonderful sights along the way. Finally, they were in New Mexico. Grandpa was driving. He was getting sleepy and thought he should let Joe drive. In another 10 miles, he thought, there's a rest stop. We'll stop there. But too late. He fell asleep and ran off the road, slamming into a giant boulder. The two of them were thrown from the car. They were on a secondary highway with very little traffic, the way they liked to travel. Those other travelers would have noticed what appeared to be a scrambled egg at the base of a boulder. Nobody saw the two injured and unconscious souls lying in the sand, perhaps 30 feet away. Eventually, they came to and found each other. Their wounds were thankfully minor. A plastic surgeon could fix them right up. They found the wreckage from their Beetle and had it for breakfast, which, by the way, was a big mistake. What would they show to their insurance adjuster? They sat on a rock and prayed for God's help, then walked around a bit. Excuse me. In doing that, they came to the other side of the giant boulder, and there, partly buried in the sand, was what appeared to be a flying saucer. They excitedly began brushing it off, revealing more and more of its wrinkly yellow skin. You see what this is, Grandpa? It's a UFO, an unidentified flying omelet. Grandpa replied, well, it was, but now you've identified it. On closer inspection, they found a note attached to a door. It was a short message in some alien language, it seemed. Little Joe's cell phone had an app for translating foreign languages, so he took a picture of the note, and his app identified it as Hindi. And the translation, 2 words, finders, keepers. Well, they found that the door had a brass knob, and they turned it and opened, and they entered. Affixed to the threshold was a plaque that said, "Made in India." Aha, they both exclaimed, that makes sense. For the next couple of hours, they explored and translated all the labels and notices they could find. And here's some of the things that they found out. Number 1, it had a driver's seat and steering wheel. Number 2, it had a gear shift, accelerator, clutch, brake. It was a manual transmission. Number 3, it ran on compressed air and was built in India by high-tech industries. Number 4, it had a large air scoop that slurped up the air and compressed it. The faster you flew, the more air fuel was processed. By the way, there was a second tank they discovered as well, and it was a mixture of fictional and imagination. Oh, I'm sorry, fictionalized and imagination. That's what was in the other tank. Okay, well, enough technical jargon. Let's take it on a test flight. Grandpa and little Joe did rock, paper, scissors, and it was decided that Grandpa would do it first. He would be the first to fly it. So he adjusted his seat and his side view mirrors and played with the gear shift. He turned the key to its on position and heard a hissing sound. Buckle yourself in, Joe, because here we go. In first gear, they lifted vertically off the ground. In second, they could fly around slowly, horizontally. In third gear, much faster. And after much practice for both of them, they decided to try fourth gear. It was also marked as overdrive. They were off like a bolt of lightning and were quickly in outer space. Downshift, downshift, cried little Joe. Big John complied. In third gear, they could think. There was a panel on the dashboard where they could choose their destination. Let's go to the moon, Grandpa suggested. Little Joe agreed. Yes, I want to see if there's a man in the moon, and if it's really made of green cheese, and if a cow really did jump over the moon. Overdrive again, and soon they were downshifting to first and gently landing on the moon's surface. Barely had they landed when a big man walked up to them and asked if they'd seen his cow. He was wanting to milk her and make some green cheese. Joe laughed and said, I heard that the moon was made out of green cheese. Ridiculous, replied the big man. What they should say is that there's a man on the moon who makes green cheese from the milk of the cow who didn't make it over. And now, if you'll excuse me, I've got to go pose for a silhouette. Our travelers stayed there a few days, sampling green cheese and, for dessert, moon pies. Then they said their goodbyes, climbed into their, well, formerly known as a UFO, and headed for Saylorsville, Rhode Island, their home. As soon as they had landed in Grandpa's backyard, Joe's cell phone rang. Hello, my name is Advic. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but I think it's Advic. He said, I am with High Tech Industries in India. We specialize in aircraft and spacecraft, things that go up high, as in high tech. And they're powered by compressed air and fictionalized imagination. So that'll get you a lot of places very quickly. So how did you like our product? He asks. He says, you found a note that said finders keepers. Well, it's yours to keep if you will complete a survey. Well, Joe completed the survey and thanked him very much for the awesome, awesome gift. That night, Grandpa and little Joe sat on the front porch and gazed up at the full moon. They saw the man in the moon, and he appeared to be waving at them. Well, they waved back and went to bed. Before nodding off, Joe said, Grandpa, let's go to Mars tomorrow. Grandpa says, well, maybe, but let's go see El Moro first. And there you have it. Safe landing. Everybody was happy. And hope you have safe landings wherever you go and that you have a happy life. And I pray that God bless you all. And we hope to see you again very soon.